When we were making Star Trek: The Motion Picture, there was one remarkable moment that spoke to the heart of this legacy. Hundreds of dedicated Star Trek fans were invited to be part of an important scene we were filming. It was a way of saying thank you for all their tireless support over the years. Now, for this DVD release, a select group have gathered together to share their memories of that special day. Take a look.
Table again.
Seriously, just bring it in. Isn't it amazing that we're actually in the same stage where we were 30 years ago? I mean, that just...
Who knew back then we'd be here, right?
The old stage 18.
Well,
It's amazing.
Pretty unforgettable for all of us.
It was.
It was.
It's hard to believe it was 30 years ago. It really,
I know, especially look at us.
Yeah.
Well, yes.
Yeah, we all look wonderful.
You can say that.
Yeah. Why are we laughing?
You were a mere tad at that time.
How did we all end up in the motion picture? What was all of our connection to Star Trek?
Okay, you get to start.
Okay. Well, for me, I had actually interviewed Gene Roddenberry when I was going to Cal State Northridge for my college paper.
Yeah.
And then ended up working at NBC, where I was the publicist on the Questor tapes and the animated Star Trek series, and ended up writing an episode of that. So in 1978, when Gene decided to put fans of Star Trek and friends into the movie, I got a call saying, would you like to be in the motion picture? Would I what? And by the way, bring a lot of your friends, although they'll have to audition for Robert Wise, but we didn't have to audition.
My husband and I ran the Safe Star Trek campaign, which allowed us not only to help Star Trek, but meet a whole lot of really, really nice people. Then when the movie was going to be made, Gene wanted to thank all the fans who'd supported him, and he went to the Screen Extras Guild and got a waiver that said he could go on the street, as it were. And the next I knew was I got a call that said, do you know anybody who'd like to be in the Star Trek movie? And my prompt answer was, is this a trick question? And no, she meant it.
With me, I mean, obviously my dad was in the original series, James Doohan, but we would go to the set frequently, but we would just visit. We would watch him do a couple scenes, and we knew the movie was coming out. We knew they were doing it, but we didn't have any of the details for the most part. And my dad's called us and he says, "You guys want to come, watch me do a couple scenes?" And we said, "That'd be great, normal. It's what we do, what we did, right?" And I was 19 years old. So my brother and I, he picked us up and we get to the studio and he goes, "I got to show you the wardrobe department." And then he says, "You'll love the wardrobe department." I said, "I'd really rather see the bridge, but wardrobe department's fine. That's okay." And he walked us in there and he says, "So you're going to fit my boys?" It was a complete shock to me. I had no idea. No idea whatsoever.
How cool.
It was very cool. And it's interesting now because I am in the new Star Trek, and it's a slightly bigger role. But I had a real deja vu moment when they called me for the fitting, and I walked in there and saw this rows and rows of Star Trek uniforms, and I really did. I thought I'd been here before. I'd done this, even though it was probably a completely different area and whatnot. And of course the uniforms are completely different. But it was quite a turn of events.
At one point, there had been some discussion. I was going to do the part that David Gautreaux later got, the couple lines at the beginning. And, I had said to Gene, I'd love a chance to just, something somewhere. And he said, all right, well, we have this little... And then because they didn't do phase 2, they gave that to David Gautreaux. So Gene said, you'll come to the cattle call. I said, yeah, sure, what the heck. And I remember, it was just like you said, and Robert Wise was there, and I'm just standing there thinking, well, I might not make the cut. And Robert Wise calls out a couple names, and he calls out my name. Was David Gerald here? And I said, yeah. He says, okay, you're in. Because I assumed Gene had said, you got to put David in.
I was at home one evening and got a phone call from one of my friends to say that she had heard from Bjo sort of through the grapevine that they were going to be doing a casting call for the movie, and did I want to come? Because I was about the right size and build and stuff like that. And oh, okay, sure, why not? It was just figuring there was a snowball's chance in whatever that I was going to be one of the people they picked. And I got to the cattle call, and they were running groups of us in front of the casting people and going down the line again. And I made the first cut, and they sent us off into the back, and I'm going, oh my God, they didn't dump me. And they looked me over and said, okay, you're in, you're a Vulcan. And I'm going, oh my God, I'm a Vulcan.
Robert Wise said, you know, you keep saying there's 430 or so people aboard the ship.
Let's
we never
see
see
'em.
them all. Well,
Let's
of course,
see 'em.
that was because they were on such a budget. There were only 2 or 3 people you saw in the halls or something.
There's
And
always
so
Eddie
basically
Paskey
there was
and-
right, exactly.
I thought
So
we
there
just
was
never
this
had time to
wonderful-
all get together.
We were all too
that
busy.
Too,
yeah,
that
right.
too. But Joanne then was going to chicken out. She is so shy, and she phones me the day before filming, and she says, "I can't do this. I just cannot do this." And I said, "Joanne, you've just got a part that every fan in the country would kill for."
Absolutely.
Now, if I told them you backed out of this, you'll never be able to show your face in public again. So I literally dragged her to the studio the
Yeah,
next
I had
day.
several of my other friends threatening me
Oh.
with violence as well. so-
Absolutely. And then Mrs. Robert Wise held your hand for most of the
Yeah.
thing. It was very cute.
Oh, that's sweet.
So I thought
She
that
was a
very
nice lady. I
She's,
enjoyed
oh,
standing
she's
next
so
to her.
sweet.
Our orders are to intercept, investigate, and take whatever action is necessary.
They all gave us times to come in and get wardrobe. And so I had a time to come in and get shoes. And I had to change with somebody else. So I got the wrong shoes. And I didn't know this until I showed up the day, and you all went in the front, and they looked at my shoes, and they went, no, you're back there. So I can find myself if I freeze frame and sort of see myself.
Well,
See, I,
Anne
didn't, I,
was not
ignored
halfway
the, I
back.
ignored the assistant director and just walked right up front.
I was just
Stood
going
there.
to say, my dad coached me, and he goes, it would be great because they're probably going to be in the back because when you're coming in, there's already people there. Just slowly edge your way up, inch by inch, get in there and get up to the front. I think I was probably
Those of us- see,
5
those
rows
of us
back
who-
at that point.
Aside
of
from a
us-
few people, yes, that knew to stay there, the rest, everybody else shuffled around. If you watch
Yeah.
all the scenery, nobody's in the same place twice. And I kept ending up in back because it wasn't important for me to have FaceTime.
Yeah.
I wasn't a young actor. I wasn't any, I was just happy to be there. So I'm over in the back somewhere.
Yeah, I think my dad got a real big kick out of us being there. And I know my sisters wish they could have been there too, but they were out of town. And I think he was almost more thrilled than we were probably. He was so proud, and to actually have a scene with my dad. And I think I was, I love that, and I think that he loved the fact that, my gosh, I have a scene with my sons.
For me, the big thrill was just being there with Robert Wise, who, Robert Wise, Day the Earth Stood Still, and West Side Story, and Sound of Music, and all these great movies, and The Sand Pebbles, and so one of the world's great directors. Not just this guy who fell off the turnip truck, but somebody who really, a major part of Hollywood history is now directing the Star Trek movies. I was just jazzed that, we're getting to work with one of the Hollywood legends.
Didn't you think it was amazing that he was actually picking the extras?
Oh, absolutely.
That
I
is
thought
amazing,
I
yeah.
thought that was one of the best things about him is that it's not micromanaging as much as owning the whole thing. I want this to look like this, and this should be. It was clearly involved in building a specific look and feel for the whole thing.
Even though parts of it were interesting to live through, going home was really anticlimactic. Oh, you mean I have to go back to real life now?
Well, I remember my dad, when he drove us home after that, he couldn't shut us up. my brother Monty and I were just, this was so great, this was so cool. Did you see that alien girl? She was so cute. We were having a great time. My dad looked back and just, oh, what did I do? I created a monster here, 30 years from now? Let's do
we
it
should
again.
do this every
do this again.
30 years from now.
Every 30 years, I'm all for it. I had a grand time today, and I think
this
it
was
was
fun.
really nice to see all of you. I haven't seen you in a long time. We
Yeah,
need
I was looking forward to this. Yeah, that we should. And absolutely, it was great to
Oh, okay.
meet you.